Okay, here we are, the final week of the season, week 18. Playoffs start next week, and the Chiefs have the Las Vegas Raiders ahead of them on Saturday at 4:30 p.m. So first things first, what I want to say this week after what happened on Monday night, thoughts and prayers are with Damar Hamlin. I mean, he's doing much better now. He's been able to get the breathing tube out. He communicated with his teammates today. They say he's neurologically intact, which is a miracle. So, continuing to hope for his improvement, and hopefully he can return to doing whatever he loves. So then, but based on that, obviously the Bills-Bengals game yesterday was announced that it was canceled. Today the owners met to approve a new proposal on where the AFC Championship game would be if it involved one of the two teams that were playing on Monday night, which was the Bills and Bengals. So let's talk about that really quick because it involves Kansas City. So if Kansas City wins this weekend and Buffalo wins this weekend, then an AFC Championship game between Buffalo and Kansas City would be at a neutral site. Now, some ideas for neutral sites have been like Indianapolis, because it's pretty close to KC and Buffalo. It's like the same distance from both. But the thing is that is a turf field, so players might not like it. Another idea has been Tennessee or the Ford Field, which is, I think it's booked, but yeah, we'll see about that. But Roger Goodell has all the last say on that, so if it ever comes to that, then it will be up to Roger Goodell to decide. Same thing if the Chiefs lose and the Bills lose and the Bengals win, the Bengals against the Chiefs or the Bills would be at a neutral site. And then I think if the Chiefs lose and Chiefs lose and Bills win, then it would be at the Bills, the AFC Championship game, if the Bills get there. So basically that means that if the Chiefs win on Saturday, they will clinch the number one seed, because based on winning percentage, even though, and I mean if the Bills win on Sunday, then the Chiefs and Bills will have the same number of losses, but because the Chiefs have more wins, they would have a higher winning percentage, which would give them the number one seed, and it would give them the first round bye and a guaranteed home game in the first game of the playoffs. Okay, and I know that many Chiefs fans have been annoyed at this proposal that the owners approved today. But as far as I can tell, the only team that's really getting screwed over with this proposal is the Bengals. Actually, the Bills I think mostly are fine. The Chiefs mostly are fine, but the Bengals really, if they lose on Sunday, a game they could be they would win their division but might not even host a home playoff game, which doesn't make any sense. But obviously, there's no fair way for this situation to be resolved with Damar Hamlin. But, I mean, obviously, his health is the most important, but now we shift our focus to football. Okay, so now with that out of the way, the only thing the Chiefs can control this weekend is getting the first seed. You can let everything else play out after that. So if they win, they get the first seed and they get a bye. They get to rest everyone and then host a playoff game after that. Okay, so now let's talk about the Chiefs' offense against the Raiders' defense. So obviously, we saw a few weeks ago, Denzel Perryman and Chandler Jones were put on IR. They won't be playing in this game. They've had a rotating cast of characters on their defense, especially in their secondary. The Chiefs took a lot of advantage of that. Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes had over 350 yards, I think, in the last Raiders matchup. But that game was still really close, mostly because the Chiefs were down early. They couldn't really seem to figure things out. It seems like you would think the Raiders would fall over and die in this game, but last week they gave the Niners a big fight. They were up 10 on the Niners. It seemed like they were going to win. Obviously, that game goes to overtime, and then Jarrett Stidham throws a pick after being pressured by Nick Bosa, and then the Niners went on to win that game. But the game was still really close, which means to show you that this team is still playing for something. And if the Chiefs keep the Raiders in this game, it could end up being really close at the end, much like last week, where the Chiefs were easily better than the Broncos, but kept them in the game the whole time, and it came down to the wire. So the Chiefs' offense, it hasn't been operating really well. Patrick Mahomes' last game had a 300-yard, 3-touchdown game. It looked on the scoreboard on the box score, it looked very nice. But other than that, but just by the eye test, in the third quarter especially, he was missing a lot of throws. Usually when he runs out of the pocket, he knows where he's going, or he's gonna pick up a good 10 or a good gain at least with his legs. It seemed to me specifically that every time he ran out of the pocket, it seemed like he thought every receiver was covered, and there were no throws available, and he would get a 1 or 2 yard gain and quickly get stopped. And it led to a lot of 3-and-outs, especially in that third quarter, when the Chiefs had the chance to go up by 10, go up by 14, just put the game away. But that unfortunately didn't happen. So the Chiefs this time, they have to try to execute early on offense, at least to carry it over to the playoffs too. Because if they do win this game, they're gonna have the bye week, and you don't want to be rusty going into the bye week. You want to be like executing well, so you know what's up. And I know Andy Reid wants to trying out new things for the playoffs, wants to ensure that they're all working well. So this game is pretty important for that. Specifically on offense, I know that you've been wanting to see the Chiefs run the ball more the whole year, but I think this game you will want to throw the ball. You will want Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball. Another thing, he's actually only 440 yards away from breaking the all-time passing record for a single season held by Peyton Manning. I think if he's anywhere close to that near the end of the game, they're going to be passing the ball a lot. So we don't be annoyed. Let's be expecting that if he's anywhere close to it. Honestly, like Andy Reid always tries to do that for his players. So even if the game, if they're up by 10, up by 2 scores heading into the fourth quarter, they're still going to be passing just to get try to get Mahomes that record. But yeah, early on I would keep passing. They can't seem to stop it. Last time, Travis Kelce didn't have the best yardage, but he had all that stuff in the red zone. But Patrick Mahomes was playing pretty well that game. He got many yards against the Raiders. Their secondary is bad. They don't have anyone there. I think they're the 30th ranked pass defense in the NFL. So by that, the Chiefs should be able to pass pretty well. Their running game was not that effective last week, but we know that they didn't give it enough chances. Pacheco and Jet McKinnon have been pretty good the whole season, especially McKinnon as the past few weeks as a receiver. So we might see some interesting looks. We might see what the Chiefs want to do before the playoffs. Okay, and then I'm talking about the injuries on the offensive side. I think Sky Moore is out for this game with the hand laceration. Nicole Harmon was taken off IR 2 days ago. He's on the active roster now. Probably, if he plays, it'll be on a snap count. It won't be that much. But it could be interesting to see him and Kadarius Toney in that red zone offense. And Nicole was doing pretty well on the deep stuff earlier in the year. Mahomes usually found him a couple times on those deep crossers. And he's been getting open. So we'll see how that looks now. Obviously, hopefully with Nicole coming back, even if it's not in this game, we will see less of Justin Watson, who did make an incredible catch in the last game, but we always want to see the more talented players get more chances. Sky Moore not playing, he'll probably be back for the next game. It's just like a hand laceration. We'll see how that goes. I think Joe Thuney's also questionable, and Nicole is questionable. So Joe Thuney suffered an ankle. If he's not going to be able to play, it's fine. I think you can beat the Raiders without him. And specifically because the Raiders have Max Crosby, you're going to double team the whole game, chip him, help him. So Thuney doesn't need to really be pushing himself up against Max Crosby. It's okay if he can rest this week. They should be able to win without him. So specifically about the Raiders' defense, we talked about their secondary, but their linebackers aren't that good either, but they have one really good pass rusher, and that's obviously Max Crosby. Like I said, they need to make sure they can focus on taking him out of the game. If they can do that, they basically won the game, as long as the defense doesn't really have anybody else step up, which last week, even though it was close with the Raiders, the Niners still ended up scoring 30-plus points in regulation. So the Chiefs should have no trouble putting up points. So now moving over to the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Derek Carr was benched 2 games ago. As much as Chiefs fans love to see that. We all know he's been the problem in Las Vegas or Oakland, it used to be. He's finally benched. Doesn't look like he's going to be part of the team next year. So we finally seen the last of Derek Carr as a Raider, most likely. But Jarrett Stidham, everyone thought would be pretty bad. The Chiefs fans saw him, I think, during the COVID season in that rescheduled game with the Patriots when Cam Newton got COVID. I think Brian Hoyer or something went down with an injury, and we saw Jarrett Stidham against the Chiefs, and it was obviously there. He was pretty bad. People thought for a second that he might be, before they signed Cam Newton and before they drafted Mac Jones, people thought Jarrett Stidham might be the starting quarterback after Tom Brady left for the Patriots. But that's not the case. Obviously, after McDaniels went to Las Vegas, he brought over Stidham as a backup. Now, we saw in the last game, he was dealing, even though he had a couple of turnovers, 2 interceptions, and a fumble that was recovered by the Raiders. He was throwing pretty good passes. He was keeping calm under pressure and delivering, especially to Devontae Adams. So what I was a little bit confused about was before the game, Devontae Adams was talking about how he always supported Derek Carr. Obviously, I mean they're best friends. They went to the same college. There's the only reason Devontae Adams actually came to Las Vegas. But then after the game, it seemed like Adams was genuinely surprised by how well Stidham played, and even though he didn't say he was surprised, he seemed surprised. He got 3 touchdowns in that last game. So as long as I know Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are back now, but the Chiefs have had trouble with Darren Waller before in past seasons. But as long as you'd really take Adams out of the game and then you keep either like Trent McDuffie or L'Jarius Sneed on Hunter Renfrow, if you can probably the game probably flips, especially when they have to start passing the ball, so you know what to expect it. The Chiefs pass rushers can tee off. The 4-man rush has been improving a lot. This past game, 4 sacks. George Karlaftis has been coming on as of late. So basically, if you start taking away Devontae Adams, this game opens up a lot more for the Chiefs defense. I would try not to bring pressure to Jarrett Stidham. You can heat him up on like 3rd down, bring the pressure from like a corner or a linebacker. I've been seeing Nick Bolton a lot more on blitzes, and when he's on, especially during 3rd down, we don't really want Nick Bolton in coverage because. So I might want to see Nick Bolton on some blitzes on 3rd down. We'll see stuff about like that. Bringing 5, but definitely not like that all-out blitz on that last 4th down in the last game, the one that went to Hunter when Renfrow and Devontae Adams collided, and Adams collapsed. You don't want to see anything like all-out blitzes like that. Nothing too much for Jarrett Stidham because, lucky play one way or the other, and then the Raiders are in this game, and the Chiefs have been turning the ball over at a pretty consistent rate. So if I let the Chiefs turn over our Raiders' lucky play, this game could be much closer than we want it to be. So we just want to keep everything in front of us, play safe defense, bend but don't break, and it's defense like that. So that's what the main keys are to taking away Adams, making sure the Chiefs don't give up any explosive plays. Make sure they take up time in their offensive positions, and they don't have as much time to catch up in the game. And this game, much like last week, you just want the Chiefs to go up big early, so you start putting the game away. You don't have to worry about it too much. It's all these Raiders players; they have nothing really to play for, other than maybe contracts or something like that. So, other than that, the Chiefs just need to go up early, see what happens, try to put the game away like that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about some other things in the NFL. So what I first want to talk about, one of the most popular TikTok NFL players on TikTok is Isaac Rochelle. When I first saw that he signed for the Raiders for the last 2 games of the season, I was like, oh, so now he has to play against the Chiefs. So that'll be pretty interesting. That's just something that is kind of interesting, funny to me to see him play the Chiefs in the final game of the season. Another thing is the Chiefs, if they don't really win this game, I would say they really shouldn't be the 1 seed. But the Chiefs should do everything in their power to win this game, win the 1 seed. I know Andy Reid's not going to show a lot of his offensive playbook, not show a lot of his play designs that he's setting for the playoffs. Obviously, with Mecole Hardman just coming back and Sky Moore out of this game, it's going to be more of just basic looks, runs, passes, just the same stuff the Chiefs have been doing all year. But if it does come down to it, if the Chiefs need to bring out something new, they should want to win this game, because if they do, it means they get a first round bye. It means they're at least hosting one home playoff game, and then the other one's neutral site at worst. So you're not going on the road at all. You're going to avoid one of the Bengals or the Bills, which looked like it was going to be a pretty good game based on at least the first 2 possessions from that game. On Monday night before obviously the unfortunate incident. So you avoid the Bengals and Bills, you play one home playoff game, you don't play on the road, and you only have to play 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. So it's a huge advantage to the Chiefs. I feel like last year, if the Chiefs had the 1 seed, it would have been incredibly useful to them in making the Super Bowl. I think playing that last game, you just leave it up more to chance, and you just reduce your odds of getting to you increase your odds of getting to the Super Bowl by just playing less games because you have less chances to lose. So yeah, so that's what I think. The Chiefs should try to get that bye. What kind of like gets messed up in this situation is the Bengals no longer have a chance at the 1 seed. Maybe if they won and the Chiefs lost, they would have a chance, but now they don't. The Bills still do. I think if they win and the Chiefs lose, they'll get the 1 seed, they'll get the bye. So basically the Chiefs just need to take care of business and win this game. Some other stuff I want to talk about in the NFL. So the Sunday night game, Detroit versus the Packers in Green Bay. So Seattle's playing earlier, which is, I don't really understand why they did that, because if Seattle wins their game, the Lions have nothing to play for, but Seattle needs the Lions to win their game. So, but let's say Seattle loses, they're already out of the playoffs, then the Lions have something to play for. So either way, the NFL is kind of screwing with the Eagles, the Seahawks here, because if the Seahawks win, the Lions won't, they'll try, they won't really try to win because they know that they're not going to have a chance at the playoffs now, which means the Packers can win, and now the Seahawks are eliminated. So for the Seahawks to make it, the Seahawks and the Lions to win, which is kind of messed up because they're not playing at the same time. So this Lions will already know the result of the Seahawks game, which is something I just found unfair with this week. Obviously, Ravens and Bengals, if the Ravens find a way to win that game with Tyler Huntley, which I doubt, then next week, and if the Chargers win, the Ravens just have to win a coin toss, and then they're hosting a playoff game, even though they haven't won their division, which is just surprising to me. So overall, in this whole new proposal challenge for the NFL, it's kind of the Bengals that are getting messed up. I've seen a lot of Chiefs fans annoyed about this. We take what we can get. It was like a once-in-a-lifetime incident. Something like this won't happen again. I know the rule book said a canceled game. It means the seeding is just based on purely win percentage. But, if you have to afford something. If this game wasn't canceled for some weather reason or accident with, it wasn't one of the team's faults or anything. It was a completely freak accident. Both teams could not play after that, so it just makes sense. So that's my thoughts on this week for the Chiefs versus Raiders and other things in the NFL. So Chiefs win, they get the 1 seed. We won't see them next week, but we'll see them the week after, hosting the divisional round of the playoffs, and then trying to play out their shot for the AFC Championship game again. Okay, thank you.